Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the September 5th meeting of the Wayne City Council. If you could please silence your cell phones and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Roll call. Mayor Racy,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Brock,
Here.
Councilman Dowd,
Here.
Councilwoman Was.
Here.
Councilman Clearman,
Here.
Councilman Mulholland.
Here.
Councilman Quarles.
Here.
A quorum is present. I just want, before we get started, to introduce my new full-time deputy city clerk, Jennifer. So she's kind of going to shadow what's happening up here.
Welcome.
Done an awesome job so far. Okay, so the first item on the agenda is for a moment of silence for former City of Wayne City Manager Tom Daly.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 1, approve the agenda.
Move to approve.
Support Dowd. I'd like to make one change to it.
Hold on one second. I have a change I'd like to make first, if this is acceptable to the motion makers. I'd like to add to 8A, approval of city manager job description, and then to add higher MML on typical level for city manager search on that whole.
All on 8A.
Isn't that where that was, or is there a better place to put that?
So you want to change, I think we,
Or does it need to be a separate item? Because the job description and that go together, that's why I thought it was there.
city attorney, don't they need to amend the
That would be a
rules?
That would be a separate item, so that would be like 8G.
That's fine.
Is the last item in 8F? Then,
No,
would be
the
K.
last item is 8J,
okay.
HA,
so it'll be 8K.
that's fine. It could be a separate item.
To add to higher MML.
Yes. Yep. And,
So approval to hire MML.
yep.
Which level?
I would, at the typical level, that's the second tier is what I, at this point, recommending.
At the second tier?
Yep.
Is there a dollar amount associated with it?
There probably is.
We word it as with specified dollar amount,
Yeah, or not to exceed whatever the dollar amount is.
not to exceed.
Yeah, there's,
Hold on.
and can we add that dollar amount once we have our discussion? Or is that enough?
Well, I'm going to word it as not to exceed specified second tier dollar amount.
That's fine.
Typical as a member is 18,500.
18.5?
Yep.
Okay,
And I'm okay with changing that.
okay.
Dowd. Was it Dowd, the second person?
I was the second.
Yeah.
Are you okay with
I
that?
support that revision.
Yes, Councilman Clearman?
It came out over the weekend that some confidential information was leaked that was only given to a few of us. I'd like to add that to the closed session to discuss what happened there.
We can't add anything to a closed session,
Do we have an additional closed session for that?
not tonight. You have
Should
to,
we discuss that in open?
we can talk about it. I don't think,
I think,
that's up to the,
You're going to have the opportunity to make council comment. It might be
Right,
inappropriate.
that's comment, but do we discuss what happened, how we prevent it in the future?
Well,
We're
if it's-
discussing it or just commenting at the end?
Well, you're welcome to say whatever you'd like during your council comment, but if it's something that's going to be confidential or privileged, we should probably schedule a closed session
All
for the
right,
next
yeah,
meeting.
we should talk about it, so we could talk to the attorney to see how we can do that, if there's something that allows us to do that. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Exactly
yeah, there
how
might be. We might have
we need
to
to
have,
have
there'll be some
discussion about that.
communications and maybe like a memo or something like that that will go to the council that we could talk about, because I don't know anything about the issue.
Yeah.
all right. I'd also like to add an item to discuss when we're going to go over the next goals session. Previously, we went through section 1. We've still got 4 more sections to go through. like to add a item to discuss when we're gonna have the next goals session meeting.
So discussion of setting another study session
Yep.
to,
That's right. Thank you.
is there a second on that?
Study session?
Wants to schedule a second study session to continue the council goals discussion.
I'm okay with adding that as well. We can add that in as L.
So that would be item L, 8L.
8L.
Thank you.
So move to approve with the 2 changes.
Do you have, so,
Are you fine with that?
I support the changes as offered.
okay.
Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
When that happens, so that when you come to that section, you can have it straight, otherwise if you like rush through it, when it comes time, you're like, you know what I mean? Right? Okay, item number 2, city council minutes, 2A, the regular meeting minutes of August 15, 2023.
Move to approve.
Support Quarles.
Any questions, changes? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
There's no roll call. Wow, Item 2B, special meeting minutes of August 24th, 2023.
Move to approve Quarles.
Support Dowd.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Public questions regarding items on the agenda. Public comment is conducted in accordance with local, state, and federal laws. Each public comment is limited to 3 minutes, which will begin when the speaker approaches the podium unless modified by a majority vote of city council. Someone's phone is going off.
Watch.
Is it Mr.?
Somebody's watch. Could you please turn off your watch?
Watches?
Public comment shall not be disruptive nor contain any profanity, racial, ethnic, religious, sexual, or national origin slurs or overtones. Public comment shall not contain defaming or slanderous personal attacks. All public comment shall be directed to city council, and the city council will not respond during public comments. Any violation of public comment procedures shall constitute a breach of the peace. If a member of the public engages in such breach of the peace, they may be ordered to be seated immediately or removed from the meeting by the chairperson of that meeting.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I wish to relay this information. Wayne County 3rd Circuit Court Judge Sheila Gibson ruled that the case of the City of Wayne versus Anthony Miller is dismissed. Former Councilman Anthony Miller has been vindicated, and I have the right to know how much money was spent on this special counsel. The special counsel being Scott Rourke, who was appointed by you, the mayor, and the council, and I've asked for this many times. Releases about, is there going to be a press release about this? Also, federal judge Shaleen Kumar has stated in her 21-page ruling that the constitutionality protected First Amendment rights of Mr. Mark Blackwell were indeed violated by the former city manager, No Serini, Police Chief Strong, and Lieutenant Finley Cotta. I find it absolutely appalling that you spend my tax dollars on bogus lawsuits And now, it being considered to appoint the police chief, who is also named in this 21-page federal lawsuit as our interim city manager. That is putting the fox before in guard of our hen house. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else this evening? Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I want to have a conversation with you, and it could be lengthy. What I did do is type up my words for you. I'd like to pass them out to you. We can possibly follow along and get through this a little quicker. My name is Sharon Bunny. I live on Sim Street in Wayne. I said I was going to come with a smile on my face tonight. I told my friends that because it's a new day in Wayne. So we're not going to argue. We're going to listen to each other, and I'm going to share some things with you, okay? I have a question on item 8B. Approval of the appointment of Police Chief Strong to the position of acting interim city manager until a permanent solution is found. Motion by Dowd and Was. This is different than what we left our last meeting with you, not that long ago. And we had that motion too that I can read to you later. So I really want some really sound discussion when we get to that on the agenda and why that is there at this time. Included in this board packet for this agenda are 2 emails. We have one from Mr. Dowd on Thursday, August 31st, to Lisa Norserini, John Racy, Alfred Brock, John Clark, and Elise Leslie, and Tina Rowe. Please add this to the next city council agenda, which is his motion. And he says, good afternoon. In light of the attached letter from the collective department heads request, I'm asking that this be added to the next city council meeting. That being Ryan Strong be assigned interim city manager until a permanent solution is identified. And this has been seconded by Deborah Was. All right, then we have, this is the letter that he's referring to. It's very lengthy. I'm not going to read it. I wish maybe somebody from the department head would read their own letter and their position regarding Chief Strong and why they want him for interim city manager is my take on this letter and why we don't need to go to the outside to appoint anybody. Okay, so that's their position. Okay. So then we had another email from Elise Leslie, the personnel director, in this present board package containing an email she sent to council and city attorney that contains this letter written by the department heads, I believe on August 28th. Okay. At this time, okay, so now we know where the department heads,
Hold on,
their
wait.
position are, and they are, yeah, I see, I'm gonna have to have some extra time. If anybody would like to grant me a few extra minutes, I would appreciate it.
No.
Okay.
You don't want to?
Motion to extend Ms. Bunnick's time.
I'll second.
Roll call. I guess, is there how much time?
3 more minutes.
Can I say something to the chair?
Sure.
I would like to say something to the chair. If we do this for one person, we need to do it for everybody, because it seems to be selective right now, and only certain people are gaining the advantage of extra time, and that's not fair to all the citizens in the city.
I haven't been here in a year. I've never asked for extra time. This is an important issue before you. I'm asking for 3 minutes so that we can talk about, especially since now, and I,
Hold on.
okay, vote.
Any other council before we?
I have a motion by Councilman Clearman, seconded by Councilman Mulholland. And you called for a roll call, Mayor. Did you want the roll call?
Yes, please.
Is there any more speaking? Is that it? No? So extended public comment for an additional 3 minutes. Mayor Pro Tem Brock,
No.
Councilman Dowd,
Yes.
Councilman Was, Councilwoman Was, sorry,
Yep.
Councilman Clareman,
Yes.
Councilman Mulholland,
Yes.
Councilman Quarles,
Yes.
Mayor Racy.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you so much. All right, we shall continue. What I will promise you to do, because I know this is lengthy, wherever I leave off in here at the next 3 minutes, I will stop. And I possibly, because I have comments from other people, will come back at the end of the meeting. Plus, you already have in writing what other people have said in regards to the appointment of Chief Strong as interim city manager, okay? So let's just look at a few of them right now. I'll try and keep track of time. This is what people have said. There was a huge discussion on one of our social media pages over Labor Day weekend where people shared, I thought honestly, how they felt about it. I'm going to share with you some of what they had to say. It's public comments. Most have given me opinion or given me their okay to do so. So it's just not me speaking. Somebody has to speak for the people. I hope this evening it's me. I hope I can share some of their truth with you. I think Wayne should go with Councilman Mulholland's recommendation that we go through MME for a qualified new city manager. I believe naming unqualified person from inside the current department heads would just continue business as usual. Next comment, no disrespect to the chief, but I would prefer the city seek out a candidate with prior experience who can bring a breath of fresh air and new ideas to the city and move the city forward. Experience managing a city is critical in hiring a replacement. Let Chief Strong continue to manage the police department. Running a police department does not qualify you to run a city. We need someone who is qualified in that area and someone with new ideas. Let's not kick the can down the road again. Let's not be afraid of change. Use MML and other agencies to find someone from outside. Okay. This goes to show how hard they're trying to cover up all their misconduct. We have to stop it. Wayne is either going to find some young buck, wet behind the ears manager who this is their first gig, or some experienced Oak Crow who wants one last chance before retirement. Thanks to so much chaos in this city, lead pipes, lawsuits, allegations of hostile workspace, the healthcare and pensions issue, the plate is full for this city. All right. Other people said we need to have new people on council. It's time. Let's change it all. I'm going to say one last thing. Lastly, my opinion, and I'm going to read maybe some more later on. Lastly, my opinion, important decisions such as the one that council has before them at this time should allow a place at the table for everyone. Not just department heads.
Thank you.
But all.
Okay, thank you.
Including employees, residents, and taxpayers. Thank you for the additional time.
Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Yes.
I know this is very unusual, but I don't know if there's a lot more public comments, but we have officers and their families waiting. I don't know if it'd be possible to adjust the agenda and get this presentation done. There's young children here, but.
Yeah. I don't know that we have, how many more comments do we have? If you're going to make a public comment, can you raise your hand? Any other public comments tonight? Anybody else? Okay. Seeing, are you, Vern, okay. Anyone else other than Vern? Okay, we just have one more.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. My name is Vern Amos. I would like to ask, and I probably should know this, and probably have forgotten. I'd like a better explanation on, is it Section 5, Part B? And I concur whether or not the chief or anyone has been proven innocent or guilty. They should not hold that seat. And was this chipper for the DPW, was that in the present budget year? If not, then maybe we should wait till next year.
There's no more comments? Okay, no more comments? Go ahead and move the agenda.
Item number 3, presentations. 3A, City of Wayne Police Officer Awards.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So I'm pleased to be able to honor some of our officers here tonight. As you can see, there's several officers waiting in the back along with their families. So I'm excited to share this positive news. Just a bit of overview. Each year, the awards committee for the police department meets. The awards committee includes me, a member of the patrolmen's union, a member of the command officers union, and a member of the board from each of those unions. And we review different cases throughout the year. Showed exemplary work on the part of the officers. Their colleagues can nominate them for awards. Their supervisors can nominate them for awards. And then we review each case and determine who's worthy of awards. So the awards that officers are giving tonight are kind of like the top tier awards. They're awards where you get like a ribbon on your shirt for them. The awards tonight are a commendation award, which basically means going above and beyond and really just taking that extra step to help citizens solve crimes and things like that. And we also, I'm excited to give out 2 life savings awards tonight. So the first award I'm going to give is a commendation award, which again is just showing above and beyond to help solve a crime in this case. So I'd like to call Officers Boucher and Sermon up. I believe they're both here tonight. So this award, Officers Boucher and Sermon were called to a very serious assault. I won't go into the particulars, but it was a very disturbing assault. And police officers see a lot of bad things in their careers. Sometimes it's easy just to take the report and turn it over to the detective and move on. These gentlemen did not do that. They went above and beyond. They went to the location where the incident occurred. They collected evidence. A suspect was quickly obtained, identified from their work, and the suspect was charged and is currently awaiting trial. So a serious person who committed a terrible assault was off the streets because of the work of these 2 gentlemen. So Officer Boucher. That's fine.
You want to do a picture at the end of us?
We'll take one real quick.
Thank you.
Right. Officer Sherman, you can stay up here, sir. So, Officer Sermon, we had information that there was a very serious armed felon on the loose. He was from a neighboring county of ours. We had received information from our law enforcement partners that he might be hanging out in a certain area. Officer Sermon was actually in that area anyway. He observed the person sitting on the front stoop of this particular location, and he gave chased this dangerous felon throughout downtown Wayne, climbing walls, running around throughout downtown Wayne, and he caught the person, and he got him off the street within hours of us receiving this bulletin. So definitely kept the citizens of Wayne safe from this armed felon. So congratulations. Okay, and next we have Lieutenant Amore and Sergeant Colwell. So sadly, in early 2022, there was a double homicide in Wayne. First one in the history of the city of Wayne, as far as I know. These gentlemen were part of the case. One of the first officers to arrive on scene. I'm sorry, Lieutenant Amore was one of the first officers to arrive on scene. Detective Colwell was working in the investigation bureau at the time. obtain some information very quickly. Obviously, a scene like that is very chaotic and dangerous. You know, no one wants to be a part of that. But the bottom line is both these gentlemen were professional, gathered evidence, gave information from witnesses and sadly the victims before they passed. And the suspect is actually on trial right now. So got this dangerous person off the street thanks to this gentleman's hard work. So thank you. So Sergeant Colwell, if you could come back up, please. So this case involved a shooting, unfortunately. Sergeant Colwell assisted a neighboring department with the track of the suspect using a K-9 unit. Thankfully, we're not going to need assistance of a neighboring department in that regard very soon. But they were able to actually apprehend the suspect with the help of the State Police Task Force later on. But Sergeant Colwell's work led to the bottom line has led to the arrest of this person who was committing dangerous activities here in the city of Wayne. So thank you. All right, so Officer Sermon Boucher, if they could come back up here. Right on. So in October of this year, these gentlemen were dispatched on an armed robbery. And again, it's easy just to take a report and move on, but they were able to get a description of the suspect, and they were able to locate him and actually retrieve the stolen property that was taken in the armed robbery. So sometimes victims don't get that benefit, but they were able to apprehend the suspect and retrieve the stolen property. So, gentlemen. I think you already have your pictures on. All right, so Sergeant Arndt. So this is the first of our 2 life-saving awards for the night. Sergeant Arndt was dispatched to the railroad tracks on a suicidal subject laying on the railroad tracks, waiting for the train to come. Sergeant Arndt was dispatched. He arrived and actually drugged the subject off the railroad tracks as the train was approaching. So he put himself into harm's way to literally save a life. So congratulations, sir. All right, so here our second life-saving award of the night is for Sergeant Perez. So Sergeant Perez was dispatched to a suicidal subject, and the person wishing to harm themselves actually had a knife. And Sergeant Perez, with his partner at the time, was able to secure the knife, save the woman's life, and get her the help she needed. So again, another officer who literally saved the life of one of the Wayne residents, and we're very proud. So Officer O'Garrick. So this is another commendation award. Officer O'Garrick was just clearing up another run and observed a vehicle driving recklessly. She stopped the vehicle, seized several illegal guns from the vehicle. I'm very confident that the subjects involved in this vehicle were on the way to commit a shooting in a neighboring jurisdiction, and she stopped them, got these guns off the street and stopped the shooting. So congratulations. I believe that's it. Okay, congratulations, everyone. Thank you.
How you doing?
Thank you, guys and girls.
Okay, moving the agenda.
Yes.
3B, special businesses recognition.
Okay. We have three of our businesses in town were voted best Channel 4, best of 4, which is Channel 4's, had a contest of Metro Detroit businesses and top businesses in Metro Detroit. And three of our businesses placed in that, and one of them placed twice, actually. My first presentation is going to be congratulating Flowers in the Mitten. They came in third place for best of 4, best florist. On behalf, why don't I'm going to read all these, and then I'm going to bring everybody up so I don't keep having to come back down. And then we had Helium Studio. They were chosen, they came in second place for two different categories. One was for best picture framing, and the other one was for best antiques. So congratulations to them. And then Moonlight Mystic, which is one of our newer businesses, just over a year in business. They came in at first place as the best gift shop in Metro Detroit. So having some of our gift places being recognized is just a really big deal. And we're very proud of all you guys for being recognized. So with that, I'm going to come down and present you with some awards.
Also recognize these two individuals. Tiffany from Moonlit Mystic was not able to be with us tonight, but she did say to pass her, thanks along to the mayor and the council for recognizing her. These are two of my Downtown Development Authority board members, so just really proud of both of them, and we're doing great things in Wayne, and I appreciate you both very much.
And all three businesses are part of our.
Yes, all three of them, yes. I apologize.
Okay, moving the agenda. Item 4, closed session. 4A, approval to go into closed session pursuant to MCL 15.268 subsection E to consult with attorneys for the city regarding pending litigation in the case of Wayne versus Miller and Miller versus City of Wayne. Case number 22-001565-CZ, because an open meeting would have detrimental effect on the litigating position of the city.
Move to approve, Clearman. Support Dowd.
Okay, roll call?
Mayor Pro Tem Brock,
Yes.
Councilman Dowd,
Yes.
Councilwoman Was,
Yes.
Councilman Clearman,
Yes.
Councilman Mulholland. Yes. Councilman Quarles.
Yes.
Mayor Racy.
Yes. Okay, time
Motion
is
carries.
7:36. We're gonna go to close. And we gotta make a motion to come in back. Yeah. Okay, it is 8:32. We're coming back out of closed session. Can I get a motion to resume?
To come back from the closed session.
Second, Quarles?
Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Brock,
Yes.
Councilman Dowd,
Yes.
Councilwoman Was,
Yes.
Councilman Clearman,
Yes.
Councilman Mulholland,
Yes.
Councilman Quarles,
Yes.
Mayor Racy.
Yes.
Motion carries. So moving the agenda, ordinances and amendments. 5A, approval of the second reading and adoption of ordinance 2023-07 to revoke Chapter 892 of the City of Wayne Code of Ordinances regarding the pilot for Newberry Square, which ended in 2016.
Move to approve, Was.
Second, Clearman?
Any questions for, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 5B, approval of the first reading of ordinance 2023-08 to revoke Chapter 894, Sections 894.01 through 894.07, Services, Charges in lieu of taxes, Article 1, Atwood Gardens of the Wayne City Code. This project was canceled.
Move to approve, Brock.
Second, Clearman?
Ms. Goen,
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council.
can we please be quiet so we can hear? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Atwood Gardens was a project that was proposed for the Senior Alliance property. If you might remember, I don't know if any of you are on council, but they went before HUD and had to amend their offer to HUD, and ultimately they were not able to get the amount of money they needed for this project, even though we did amend the pilot once for them to change it. They still couldn't make their numbers work, so it's time to get this off the books, very simply.
Any other questions from council? No? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 6 is appointments to boards, commissions, and committees. 6A, approval of Councilman Donald Quarles to the Ballot Initiative Committee.
Move to approve, Dowd.
Second, Clearman?
Any questions? All in favor? Oops, sorry.
I have more of a request than a comment. Could we get a list, or could I at least get a list, typically when one asks, we give it to all, of who's all on these different committees? I quite, to be honest, I quite frankly don't remember who's all on the different committees. Could we get a list of council members of what they're assigned to, please?
I'll email it to you in the morning.
Yes.
I'd also like to see a list of which committees are open. In other words, which has a seat to be filled?
On all boards and commissions?
Yep.
Okay, I don't think we have any boards and commission seats that are open at this point that are active. So
How did Councilman Quarles find out about this?
this is
This is because the mayor pro tem resigned, and he's replacing him on it. So that's how we found out.
so those two committees was,
Mayor, if I may. This is the two standing committees the mayor has, which is one is policies and procedures, rules and procedures for city council meetings, and discussing items on the upcoming ballot initiatives for the upcoming elections. So it was split into three council persons per, and Mr. Quarles is replacing Mr. Porter.
And this was done,
And then on the policies and procedures is, as you know, is you and us and myself.
it was voted at a council meeting, or when you guys first got on, so. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
item 6B, approval of the reappointment to Dennis Hermatz, Glenwood Road, to the City of Wayne Zoning Board of Appeals for a 3-year term to expire July 2026.
Support, Quarles.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
6C is approval of the resignation of Randall Woody as alternate of the City of Wayne Board of Review. Mr. Woody actually moved out of the City of Wayne. So.
Move to approve, Clearman?
Second, Brock.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 7, communications and reports. This is a receive and file. This is the on-site presentation from Job Search Agency's information. And council, you had an additional one that came after the fact at your places there.
Receive and file.
And item number 8, general items 8A, approval of the city manager job description.
Move to approve, Wass.
Support, Quarles.
Okay, any discussion? Discussion for council?
Hang on a second, let me get through all the, in front of me. A lot of stuff in here.
Yes.
So as we go through this process and we choose someone to help us search for a new city manager, if they suggest changes to this, can we do that?
I would think so.
Would that come before council then? So when we're going through the process of searching for a new city manager, if we accept this job description as is for now, and our whoever we choose to help us find a new city manager, if they suggest changes to it or,
Sure, that would be part of the negotiated
Yeah.
package probably. They may have different requirements, they may have things they want to do that they did at their prior position that aren't included in this, and
that's
be
what I was hoping.
incorporated with whatever the agreement is. This, having a job description is not gonna tie the city's hands whatsoever in trying to find a new city manager.
And do we need Miss Leslie up here? Does anybody have questions for her? Or
I'm sorry?
I'm just asking, are we gonna have questions for Elise? When you're asking the question, because she's the one, her item on the agenda, just asking, do we need her up here to talk on the microphone?
I don't want to get into the weeds in the middle of a meeting. You know, I went through this and highlighted things and had questions about parts of it, but I'm not sure this is the best place to nitpick the different areas. You know, my overriding concern was that the city manager has general rules or responsibilities, and this is a good template to work from, but I just don't want this document to be the final say. I think the city manager, when they come in, should have the ability to choose what parts of these they're going, I think every city manager probably has strengths and weaknesses, and they'll play to those strengths, and they will delegate to those weaknesses. And I just want to make sure that if we approve this, that we're not tying our hands to say the next city manager that comes in has to follow this to the letter of the law. There's been changes. I could sit here and go through all the ones. I think it would be a very long discussion about moving sentences and getting better definitions on some of this. I just generally want to say that I think having a document that outlines the job qualifications, the education, that's all great, but I don't want to hamstring the new, whoever will be the new city manager, that this is your job description, and this is what you have to do, and you can't change any of this.
That was my question as well.
Any other questions?
Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
I do have one question, but I want to thank Elise and the team for putting this together and getting it back in quick turnaround. My only question is the one line where it says city manager in charge of overall administration of the city's government, which is lined out, with a different set. I'm going to read the sentences. This is the professional administrative position responsible for supervising the administration of city government. Did that come from the charter, or is that, I just want to make sure we're leaning heavily on what we have in the charter first, because that's our, other than state law, that's what we have to go with.
Well, again, it goes to finding what is a job description. It's just a summary of tasks and responsibilities. And that was lined out because, again, using other sources, city manager job descriptions that I have found, different communities, different varieties, it's always going to be fluid and flow a little bit. So again, the language that I added is in red. And the previous job description, the city manager is in charge of the overall administration of the city's government. I believe, based on my professional experience, that the first sentence is a better statement.
Thank you.
Through the chair,
Yes.
to our city attorney. Oh, just for the record again, if we approve this as a template, we can change this document when we are looking for a new city manager, and the new city manager comes in and we start the negotiations. They say, well, I can't do this, or we can do that. Is that correct?
Right, this basically does not hamstring you. This is a document where if I'm a prospective city manager and I want to apply for the city of Wayne, I want to see what the job description is. And you're gonna have a job description that sort of outlines the roles or responsibilities. If someone has a particular, as Councilman Holland said, a strength in one area or another area they'd like to delegate, that could all be worked into the employment agreement you have with them. Modes of communications, things like that, which were all things that we talked about with the last city manager contract negotiation. Those could all be a part of the negotiation with the new city manager.
Thank you.
To Councilman Dowd's point, I like both lines. I'd prefer to have the city manager in charge of the overall administration of the city's government, and then put in, this is a professional administrative position responsible for supervising the administration of the city government. I think both say something, but ultimately the city manager is the one the buck stops there. They're the one that is supposed to be overseeing the administration as the 24/7 person, and then their department heads report to them. So that's how I read it. I don't know if it's the same to others, but that's how I see it.
Personally, I prefer not to nitpick it too far.
Yeah.
We can always change this as we go through. That's my own opinion, though.
Anything else?
I had on my list of changes, that was on my list too, was to leave that in. Whether we want to do that or not, I'm okay with that.
Yes.
Given the changes that some people want, should we do those tonight, or should we have a study session to hammer this out?
Well, I mean, it depends on how we vote later on the MML search. I think that's gonna start to correct itself if they get involved and they help us with the job description. I think this is gonna be a moot point.
Yes, through the chair. I think at the last meeting, you talked about this being sort of a jump-off point or a starting point for the search of a new city manager, to have a job description on file, something that can be referenced by prospective candidates. I think if you schedule to a study session and then a month or two go by, then that's just gonna delay your efforts at getting a new city manager.
Can we receive and file this, or do we have to vote on this, on accepting this?
Well, council would have to approve this.
Okay, thank you.
Who was the motion maker?
Councilwoman Ross.
Okay. And then the second was?
Councilman Quarles.
I mean, would you guys be opposed to adding, to keeping that line, the city manager in charge of the city government, and then the second
I'm
line?
fine with leaving it.
Same here.
Then we have no other questions? All in favor?
Sorry, wait,
Oh, sorry.
we need to, point of record here.
I think you may need to read this back as to how you
So-
want it to read.
Yeah, so are we keeping the red line, the black line?
Both. We're leaving both.
Leaving both.
Motion
So
is
we're gonna
to-
unstrike
To
the,
approve this as is, including both the red line and the black line in the first and second sentence.
The black line goes first, the red line goes second.
Oh, wait, just to the chair, just to make sure I understand. If it's being approved as presented, it's the sentence that's struck out would not be in the document.
The
red
sentence,
sentence would be in the
we are going to add that struck out sentence back in.
so you're
Okay,
going,
so then it's not as presented. You're gonna interpose the black struck out line over the red line?
We're gonna move it
Leave them
above.
both in?
Yes.
Okay, because
Keep
I
them
just
both
wanna
in.
make sure that,
So the motion is to
approve
accept
with the
this.
amendment of the two sentences where the struck out line
Is the first sentence,
is transposed with the red sentence, but they are both in the document.
yes.
All right, I just want
You
to
got it?
be clear with that, thanks.
yes, and I'm gonna
Mr.
repeat
Quarles, are you
it
okay
again.
with that?
I'm good with
I'm
that.
gonna repeat it again. So this is, motion by Councilwoman Ross, supported by Councilman Quarles, And this is to approve the job description, city manager job description by amending it to leave in the, under job summary, both sentences of this is a professional administrative position responsible for supervising administration of city government. The city manager is in charge of overall administration of a city's government. Both those sentences are being left in.
Yes, and we'd like the city manager is in charge of to be first?
You want the order changed?
Yes,
With the
please.
order being changed.
Yes. Those two sentences both being in with the order being changed.
Okay, got it.
Mr. Quarles, you're good?
I'm good.
Okay.
Everybody understand? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving the agenda. 8B, approval of the appointment of Police Chief Ryan Strong to the position of acting interim city manager until a permanent solution is identified.
Move to approve. Brock.
Support Dowd. Okay. Any questions from council? Yes.
In the last meeting, 12 days back, we'd asked that we have a list of interim people from outside. We had a letter from Elise on our desk today saying, attached an additional proposal I received over the Labor Day holiday. For your convenience, a two-page summary of all proposals received. I was unable to coordinate an on-site presentation for this council meeting. However, I have confirmed that the representative for MML will be there for Tuesday, September 19th meeting. Given that, I think we're a little premature in appointing Chief Strong. I'd like to wait until the next meeting to have the presentation.
How can we be premature? We have no city manager. We have to have somebody in place.
We need an acting one, but an interim one.
It's acting interim is what, that's basically till we figure out the next step, is how I understand it.
How can we figure out the next step if we don't have a presentation from outside yet?
Well, the next step right now is we have to have somebody in the role of the city manager, and then we're going to be talking to MML, possibly, if that gets voted on later, of the next steps, and we'll figure out those steps. But as of right now, somebody has to be in charge for the day-to-day for us, who's going to be the point person, and that's why, I believe that's why these council people put this on the agenda.
Yeah, just through the chair, my understanding of the last meeting is that there was going to be basically a temporary appointment of Chief Strong through tonight. So now you're talking about what are you going to do between tonight and finding your new city manager? So that's the time frame that we're speaking of.
So we're looking from tonight until September 19th?
That would also be an option.
But that doesn't mean we're going to find somebody that night.
But, yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
this
then
is
you're gonna
this
be
is
in
a
the same
lengthy
boat.
process.
And yeah, you'd be in the same
just don't
boat
know.
back in 2 weeks.
There's a lot of variables that we still got to figure out. We're 2 weeks into this and trying to figure out how to keep the ship afloat at the moment. And keep,
So if we don't find somebody at that meeting, it's just that we have the same motion on the next meeting to put the balls on the road 2 weeks.
well, I think we'll know when we have something come before us of what to do next. And when we would, I think it's till we figure out, talking to MML, in my opinion, if that's the direction the council goes. I mean, we need to have somebody in place is what this is, in my opinion. Councilwoman?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think that we should, I don't think it's fair to keep going. We're gonna have the city manager for 2 more weeks, for 2 more weeks, for 2 more weeks. We should at least have, Chief Strong be in place until we either decide to put an interim in or we hire a city manager. The 2 weeks at a time thing is very unsettling. It's very unsettling. So that was my thought process behind this. I know that we have the letter from the department heads that would like him to be the acting or interim. I would be okay with that if he were the interim until we hired a city manager, so.
Mayor,
We at
Mayor,
least,
if I
but
may.
we at least need someone, I mean, it can't be 2 weeks at a time. That's just
through the
unfair
chair.
too.
Through the chair, again, the packets that I provided to you on the proposals on the various sources are showing that a search for a new city manager can be anywhere from one quoted 90 days to another quoted 120 days. 3 months to 6 months, depending upon the process. And again, using the term process, that's what the side is that this is one step. It's not the final step.
Okay. Can I just,
Councilman
since my name's on the letter and my name's on the email, and just want to explain myself. This was, to me, the letter that was issued to council was a very compelling letter, signed by Chief Stradner, Mike Biden, Tina Rowe, Catherine Sample, Lori Goen, and Ed Queen, all supporting Chief as, and this is the tough part, what's the right word, acting or interim? Interim is, to me, is temporary, is the middle, like I'm hired outside, I'm the interim city manager. Acting is what Chief does at every weekend, in my opinion, that, or every weekend vacation that the city manager was absent. He is the acting city manager. If I'm wrong in the words, but I think it's important we get those words accurate, and I think I'm not the only one sitting up here that gets confused by this. So, you know, I'm gonna use the word acting in the temporary capacity that is offered and presented by the department heads, all of the department heads on the letter that say that they'd like him as the acting city manager, and let's focus on finding a permanent city manager replacement. So I made the decision to get this letter, get out this letter out there and get it on record so we can have conversation, because if it wouldn't have been put on the agenda, we wouldn't be having this conversation now, would we? So, and it was as compelling as it is, it's not like there's 5 of 6, there's 6 of the 6 of the 7 that are on here, that being the 7th being Chief himself, that make up this body as our department heads, and to not show support for our department heads, I don't think is the right thing that we want to do at this point, in my opinion.
Did you have something?
Through the chair.
Yep.
Chief Strong, I asked you this question at the last meeting. I'm going to ask you this question again. Is this something that you can take on until we can find somebody to fill in?
Thank you, through the chair. I volunteered for this because I thought it was in the best interest of the city. Nothing more, nothing less. I've been in public service for 24 years, and I think this is the right thing to do. The only thing I would ask is, I would be against let's do it for 1 more week, or let's do it for 2 weeks, to Councilwoman Wass's point. Whatever the wish of council is, I would like to see a definitive solution so our department heads and me can move forward and do our jobs. To your specific question, if it's just a couple of weeks, I will take on both roles. If it's going to be for a longer term, like 2 or 3 months, I would make some structural changes at the department, which I've already spoken to the leadership of the department about.
Thank you.
Any other? Yes. I don't think you spoke yet on this one. Yep, go ahead.
First and foremost, Chief, I want to thank you for stepping up to fill this position. Whether it's acting or interim, and I'll get to that next, but thank you for agreeing to fill in any capacity for us. I know the police department's short-staffed. I know it will be a challenge. I know you feel like you're up to it, but I still know it's going to be a challenge regardless of any capacity that you help us in. Secondly, I'd like us to try to put a definition on these 2 terms, because to me, that's very important in our process moving forward. For me, acting means, whether it's the chief or any other department head, that in lieu of a city manager, you're still going to run your department full-time, and you're also going to assume the extra duties of the city manager as you can fit into your schedule. In the past, when I was here, that usually entailed the department head working in their department, then coming over to City Hall and working in the city manager's office for a couple hours a day. It usually was something, there's no time frames, there's no rules to that, but that's typically was kind of the schedule that worked at. An interim would be someone who is either internal or external and is going to be working full-time as the city manager. You would not be working in your department if you were a department head. You would be focusing all of your time and energy to the city manager position. I think it's difficult, and anyone should be able to apply for the interim position. In my mind, the way this process would work is we would appoint the police chief to be the acting city manager until we can find an interim city manager. The chief should be compensated for that additional responsibility at something, and I won't be the one to make that decision. I know in the past, we had a daily, I believe, and you can't hold me to this, there was a daily adjustment to the salary of a set amount, and I don't remember what it was $100 or $150, something a day to assume those extra responsibilities. Understanding also that you're now going to be available 24 hours a day and on the weekends too. So all of that should be taken into account and should be, there should be a remuneration for that. I'm very comfortable appointing the police chief as the acting city manager and compensating him for that until we can find an interim. I believe also we should move forward in selecting one of these organizations that we have information on. I don't need Michigan Municipal League to come back here next time and give us a presentation, because in my mind, if we do that, we should really invite the other two to do that, and now we're kicking things further and further down the road. So I like the idea of Chief Strong being the acting city manager until we can find an interim, compensating him for that, immediately putting out a posting for the interim position. The city of Wayne is looking for an interim city manager. We just talked about the job description. Here's the job description. We have historical data on what I think David Murphy's fee was when he was the interim city manager. Put that person in place. I'd like to see someone who has experience as a city manager, someone who's done the job before, could hit the ground running, and could keep moving the ball forward. I think the city of Wayne is in a great place. I think we're moving forward. We're doing lots of great things. I'm not saying the chief isn't able to do that. I'm just saying my level of comfort is someone who has held that position before and could come in and direct all of their activities. I worry pulling the chief out is going to short staff our police department even more. I'm not sure if the chief is still teaching classes. I know I talked to you in the past, and you're welcome to address that or not. I just think it's a lot. I like the idea of the chief being the acting, getting compensated, immediately going out and looking for an interim. I think by the end of the month, possibly, we could get a list together, skinny that list down, interview some folks, make an offer, get an interim in, get the chief back to his responsibilities, have an interim here, and then at the same time, be working with one of these firms to find a city manager. And I believe that's going to be a process that's probably going to take us several months. I think 2 months would be very optimistic. This is September, October, November. I think if we could have a new city manager by December, I think we would be doing very well as far as our time frame. I don't think that my hair's on fire and that we have to do things, but I think we need to make decisions and move the ball forward. And I think part of that is appointing the chief as acting, agreeing to look for an interim, and then picking one of these groups to hire a city manager. And those are my thoughts.
Yes.
I think taking the chief on as the city manager until we find a permanent city manager would be the best way to go, because I don't want a parade going on, and the chief is familiar with our processes, and we have a lot of projects that are ongoing, and to bring in a third party just to move them out or maybe keep them, we need to stay on, I believe, our present course, which is to be solid, moving forward as a good organization. Thank you.
Councilman Clariman?
Letter that's signed by the 6 department heads, who wrote it?
What's that?
Who wrote the letter that was signed by the 6 department heads?
I can't speak to it, but I didn't sign it or write it.
We can speak to who wrote it.
It was a collaboration of all the department heads. It was a collaboration of all of us, I would
We all
say.
gave our thoughts and sat down.
And then
put
we-
together as a whole.
Yes.
All right, and was that written with the idea that Chief Strong would be on there? I know Chief Stradner volunteered for it too.
Well, he didn't.
The email we got said that he said he'd be willing to do it.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I didn't expect to be up here. To clarify what my email said is that I would take the position if there weren't support for the chief before it went to the outside interim person. I'm not up here to give my opinion, but sending it out to somebody for a few months is disruptive to the department heads when we have someone who can handle the task until we find a qualified replacement.
Chief Stradner, one more quick question. How well staffed are you at the fire department right now? If you were to do this, would it be disruptive to that?
It's going to be disruptive to anybody. We understand our staffing in our firefighting division is different than our administrative division. So our administrative division is what it is. We have myself, a full-time deputy chief fire marshal, and our administrative assistant.
Thank you. And through the chair, department, or Chief Strong, how disruptive would this be to your department?
Again, I just want to reiterate, I volunteered for this position because it was in the best interest of the city. That was the only reason. I'm not trying to get or win something or anything like that. I got into public service in 1999 because I wanted to help people. The city's been good to me since 1999, and I thought this would be a good way to return the favor. I would not have volunteered for the position if I did not have a plan in place, both in the short and medium term. Whether it's long term, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But again, I would not have volunteered for the position if I did not have a short and medium term plan for it.
Thank you. Any other question? No, I'm good with, looking at this as the way to do it. And I think we talk with MML, we'll find out what this is all about, what their ideas are. I know there's other communities right now that are looking for city managers that don't have them in our area. And this is a lengthy process. It could be very lengthy. Unfortunately, I've been through 6, this will be my 7th city manager that I've have to work with since I've been on council. This is not the most fun process. We went through, we had people that we brought in from the MML. It was okay, but it wasn't great. I mean, it is what it is. It wasn't the end all on it. We also had staff that did it, and that worked very well also. And then ultimately, we wound up hiring Ms. Nocerini, and she was here for 8 years and was only supposed to be here for a couple months, just trying to fill in, and wound up to be 1 year to 2 years and built on, and we had the consistency with it. And we actually were able to getting things done. I know my first term, we had a lot, things weren't getting done. And then when you're on this rotating city manager, nothing's getting done the way that you want it. So I think it's a good idea to try to keep stability, let the department heads, let's see how this works for right now and go forward. We're gonna figure out, is this a long-term once we start talking to people? We really are 2 weeks into this. We don't really have all the information other than we've got sheets that they provide you, about their catalog and what they can do. I think later on in this meeting, if we decide on moving forward, I think a lot of these answers will come to us. We'll figure out a plan. We'll kind of get an idea what this is for the chief, for the department heads. If, they may say this is going to take you 8 months, and maybe that is something we need to look at. We just don't know all the variables yet. And right now, I'm thankful that the chief is willing to step up and step into this position, because we need somebody to provide leadership for our community. And this is very important so that we can continue to move the city forward. There's a lot of projects that are coming before us. This is the beginning. September starts kicking things, getting crazy again. It kind of calms down in the summer, and then it starts ramping up. And so we need to have somebody there, and if the chief feels that he can do that, I'm comfortable with that. We're in a much better position than when we were before, where we didn't appoint a police chief before because we were, I think, at 18 officers at the time. And so we have more staff than we did. Is it perfect? No. But I think that the leadership of the department, I have faith that Chief Strong can keep everybody together and bring this unit together as a team. That's the most important thing right now, is that we have this team atmosphere of everybody working together and rowing in the same direction and keeping the city moving forward. So with that, can I call the question and roll call vote, please?
Yes, the motion on the table by Councilwoman Was, oops, wrong one, sorry. Mayor Pro Tem Brock, and supported by Councilman Dowd. And this motion is approval of the appointment of Police Chief Ryan Strong to the position of acting/interim city manager until a permanent solution is identified. Mayor Pro Tem Brock.
I still need some clarification, if I could, please.
That's why both words are there. He was acting when the city manager was away, and interim, I mean, those words are so similar. I mean, I think I put them both in there because I feel like that covers it.
Right, through the chair, I believe acting is a term of art that's used in the charter itself. And interim, I think, conveys time of sitting in the seat until it's filled permanently. So I think that's why, I can't speak for the clerk, but I think that's why it's drafted the way it is. If the council does decide to go in the direction later on in the meeting and they're gonna work with MML or whomever, I think they could probably help provide some direction and some consulting service in terms of, is an interim city manager another person? What are the pros? What are the cons? What are other communities doing?
So do you think it should be acting interim or just acting at the
I
moment?
think it should be as written.
As written?
As written, as written.
And the reason I'm asking for clarification is, if it's going to be full-time, then we're gonna need to negotiate with the chief then a different kind of negotiation, because I'm gonna assume working here full-time would be a different negotiation. I don't know. I guess I'm not positive of that. So I'm just trying to make sure, I'm not trying to cause any waves. I'm just trying to make sure I know what I'm voting for. This would be to take the chief out of the police department.
No.
No.
So he would still be doing both jobs.
Yes.
He's the acting.
Okay. I'm sorry, when you throw the interim in there for me, I look at acting as temporary. I look at interim as someone who's full-time here. So that's where I'm having if I'm not understanding this, I apologize. I'm gonna sit here and ask questions till I do understand it, so I know what I'm voting for. And I just am asking for clarification on that.
My understanding, he's doing both roles. Is that correct, Chief?
Yes.
Through the chair, if there were gonna be any sort of salary adjustment or anything, that would have to be before this body for approval.
Through the chair?
Yes.
Do we need to do that now, or can we negotiate that with them and come back to that?
I would say we would come back to that because none of those conversations have transpired.
May I ask one more question through the chair to the chief? Chief Strong, if this becomes like a 4, 5, 6 month thing, are you willing to take that on?
6 months would be kind of high end. Again, as I mentioned in response to Councilman Clearman's question, I had a short and midterm plan. 6 months would be high end. You know, personnel is volatile in all departments, so I'd be a little uncomfortable on 6 months, but I certainly have no problem revisiting periodically.
So you would be willing to take this on until we get with MML and find out what they think the time frame is?
Yes.
And if that's a
Absolutely.
2 or 3 month thing, you're good. If it goes longer, we need to talk to you. Is that where we're at?
Absolutely. I'd be totally comfortable taking it on until you talk to MML and figure out what's what and say, hey, we're doing a 2 month posting or whatever. Yes, 100%.
I appreciate it. Just so that because the whole like 2 weeks is, doesn't feel fun.
And just to be perfect, again, I expect to be compensated, so.
Yes, sir. And we would, not negotiate it at this meeting, though.
Could we add to the motion to authorize the human resource director and/or the city attorney to enter into negotiations with the chief to accomplish that? As part of this motion, the compensation side of it, or do we need to handle that? I'd like to do this all at one time if we could.
I guess through the chair, my thought would be, let's see how the motion is voted on. If the motion passes, then at the next meeting, you could direct us to do that, and any conversations we have would cover the time period from today's meeting through the term of service, if that makes sense. I guess.
You just prorate it, you bring it back.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Chief, I just one quick question, and we'll go to, so you have your two plans. What is your second, how long do you think, are you anticipating doing, what was your thought?
I think, in my opinion, it would be best to, it sounds like the council's desire is to post through MML. If that motion passes, I think it would behoove the council to reach out to MML quickly, get a time frame, and then we can kind of circle back and figure out if we're all still in agreement. But I think right now, it sounds like everybody's in agreement. We've got a solution to at least you reach out to MML and figure out what's what. So the city's moving forward until then.
Okay, go ahead.
One last question. I just want to make sure, by voting for this, I am not voting against the idea of hiring an interim once we pick whoever it is we want to pick to help us with the city manager, with filling the city manager position permanently.
That's the way the motion.
Right, through the chair. The motion just sort of speaks for itself. You're not obligated to, if you want to propose that there be an interim city manager, you're welcome to put that on the agenda and have the council make the decision on that. Because again, you're going to be getting feedback, assuming that the city does agree with to bring in MML. They're going to have all sorts of resources on what different communities have done in similar situations. So that's going to provide some insight and help the council make an informed decision.
Are we ready?
A couple people in the public have expressed concern that you may be a defendant in an ongoing lawsuit. I just want to say, one of the basic tenets of our legal system is innocent until proven guilty, so that shouldn't matter at all.
Are we,
Yeah, we're ready. Please, go ahead. Roll call, please.
okay. So the motion has been determined, and we'll do a roll call. Mayor Pro Tem Brock?
Yes.
Councilman Dowd?
Yes.
Councilwoman Was?
Yes.
Councilman Clearman?
Yes.
Councilman Mulholland?
Yes.
Councilman Quarles?
Yes.
Mayor Racy?
Yes.
Motion carries. Moving the agenda. 8C, approval of budget amendment 2024-1.
Move to approve.
Support, Quarles.
Any questions on this? Katie?
We explain the increase requests.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is our first budget amendment for the year. We normally don't have them this early because we're preparing for our audit that starts next week, but we had some important staffing changes and some unspent funds from fiscal year '23 that we added into this budget. Any questions?
Any questions? All in favor?
I think,
There wasn't any questions?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
sorry, I thought one of the councilmen had a question. So item 8D, approval of the ACH, which is Automated Clearinghouse, and Electronic Transactions Resolution and Policy.
Move to approve, Dowd.
Second, Clearman.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 8E, approval of municipal credit, which is $16,577, and community credit, which is $33,389. Contract with Smart for services provided by Nankin Transit for the fiscal year 2024. This is a routine yearly thing.
Any questions on the Macon Transit? All in favor?
We didn't get a motion.
Yeah, I was gonna.
I'm
Move to
I'm trying to
approve.
move this along.
Move to approve, Brock.
So, motion by Was, supported by
Brock.
Brock. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. Excuse me. 8F, approval of the police department purchase of 8 modems for the police vehicles in the amount of $11,720.18 and $2,580 for the installation, for a total amount of $14,300.18 from CDW, Vernon Hills, Illinois, to be paid from the police department budget.
Move to approve, Dowd.
Second, Clearman. Any questions about the modems?
Through the chair.
Yes.
Chief, will CDW be installing these at our station, or do we have to take the cars somewhere to get them installed?
No, sir, they'll be installed at Priority 1 in Canton, Michigan, so we'll take them over one at a time once the modems arrive.
Beautiful, thank you.
Any other questions? Motion's been made. All in favor?
Yep.
Aye.
Opposed?
You.
Motion carries.
Item 8G, approval of the City of Wayne Police Department K-9 program in the amount of $13,600 for the dog, the equipment and training, and an additional $10,878 for the updates to the patrol vehicle to accommodate a K-9, and K-9 Academy for Taylor, Taylor, Michigan, for a total of $24,478 to be paid from the police department budget.
Move to approve, Brock.
Support Was.
Any questions from council? I just want to say, Chief, I'm glad to see this come before us again. I know that this is something that I know the residents would be pleased with. I know things have changed since the last time we had a canine dog. A lot of laws have changed, so it'll be probably used a little bit differently than the past, but looking forward to seeing a canine back in.
Thank you,
with your
Mr. Mayor. We're really excited about it. You know, when Personnel Director Leslie did some exit interviews of some officers who left the department, one of the reasons they mentioned they're going to other departments was lack of special units. So this is one of the things we're doing to try and improve retention. It's great for morale. It's great for community relations. And I would just add that we have, as I noted in the memo, we have a fund in the police department's budget from a resident who passed and donated some money because it was his wish for us to reinstitute the K-9 program. So even though I didn't know this man, it feels good that we're honoring his legacy.
That's wonderful. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 8H, approval of the Department of Public Works purchase of a new 2023 Vermeer AX17 tree chipper through Sourcewell contract 031721-VRM in the amount of $106,575.78 to be paid from the general fund.
Move to approve, Brock.
Support Mulholland.
Mr. Queen?
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. I know the question was asked earlier that, about this purchase. This was part of the budget that you guys had already approved. It was one of the line items for the tree truck and the chipper combination purchase. So now we're just kind of following through with the formalities of following up with the Vermeer, who we went ahead and purchased this through, and it is $106,000. So it will be coming out of the general fund, like it was said, and this should be coming to us as soon as, if you guys approve this tonight, we should have it, within the next couple of months.
Yes.
Was this one we were purchasing outright, or this was then contract, or lease?
This was just a budgeted item, so this was being purchased just outright. It wasn't.
100,000 outright.
Right, the tree truck was on the lease program that I presented to you, and then.
Okay, thank you.
That part was on the lease, but this part was just a direct purchase because it didn't need to have that lease program.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Ed, what's our warranty on this? What kind of warranty do we get?
On the, on the tree chipper, it's I think it's a 1-year warranty on this particular tree chipper. Anything extended past that, which we didn't want to go with because we have a full-time mechanic on staff that would normally repair our, or look at the chipper that we currently have. So he's more than capable of doing that, but otherwise they wanted to tack on another $11,000 for a 3 years warranty, which we didn't feel we needed because our mechanic is more than capable of making repairs if they need them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilman Clareman?
Were there any other bids on this?
No, we don't. So this is just similar to like a My Deal. That is the bottom price that you're getting, and that's why Sourcewell is another one of those agencies that we use, and then there's a third one that I think we belong to as well. So whenever we go out for equipment purchases nowadays, that's how most of the municipalities do it. They go through My Deal, Sourcewell, or the other one. That way you're already, this is what the price is. We did look at two different types of chipper. One was a Vermeer, one was the Bandit. The one was gasoline powered, which we did not want. And the other one is, the one we're purchasing is a diesel powered, which is the type we have currently. We currently have 2 chippers right now, but because, whenever we do this, our equipment is getting older and older, so we will send one off to auction, the one that's in the worst condition. The one that we're currently using as our day-to-day operations will go as our backup, and then this new Vermeer will be the one that we use for the day-to-day. We always have a secondary one on hand because anytime we have storm damage that comes in and then we're overloaded, we're able to actually have 2 crews out with 2 chippers. One will be on the back of a dump truck with a tarp on it, and then the other one goes on our tree truck to go ahead and get the work done a lot quicker. So we always have a couple on hand. One is always a used one that's been around for a while.
Okay. Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor and members of council.
Item 8I, approval of the agreement with Allied Waste Systems Incorporated regarding waste services.
Move to approve. Brock.
Support Wallace.
Go ahead. Second, Clareman?
We got
Okay, so this was
your pick.
Brock, and then who was the second? Clareman. Thank you.
Mr. Queen, you want to tell us about this?
Sure. So what this is before you is that Allied Waste is actually Republic Services. That's our refuse contractor. And we were working with Republic Services. They've been great as we've had them. We were working to try to maybe work towards an extension because their contract is up at the end of June of next year. But then they, so as anyone would do as a business, they came forward to us just to let us know that they were not able to do that. They were instead advising us that Allied was going to sell the certain assets, which is our contract, to Priority Waste, which they can do by our contract. I did consult with our law firm as well. And once we looked over our contract, this is in our contract as part of it that says they can assign that asset of ours, asset of theirs, which is our contract, and to the sale to Priority Waste, which they would like to do. Anything moving forward, because it also says in that contract as well that they're not really able to kind of deny that assignment if they so choose to sell that part of the asset. The only other option that we would have that's written in our contract as well is that the city would have the right to terminate that contract for any reason within 5 days written notice. Well, that wouldn't be wise to do because then we'd be without a refuse contractor. So this is an agreement that Republic Services brought forward to me a week ago, last Friday. I immediately, talked it over with the past city manager, Nasserini, and a law firm as well. And then we felt this was the best option moving forward to make sure that our refuse collection does not, there's no disruption in service. Moving forward, if this, you agree to this, this agreement, the service will continue if they make that sale. And the service will, there will be no disruption. Priority Waste will then take over on October 2nd, I believe it is, which is a Monday. All the cans and everything will stay that are currently there because that's part of the asset as well that they're purchasing from Republic Services. And then the business will continue on. Like I said, their contract is up June 30th, so I'm still working. I'll be working now with either Priority or deciding what we want to do moving forward as far as either putting it back out for bid or what we want to do for the future.
Councilman Clareman?
Currently with large item pickups, there's a phone number on the side of the cans for who to call to get those done. With the cans not being replaced, how will residents know the new phone number?
That part I don't know just yet because, like I said, the first step in the process is to have you guys either approve the agreement, and then we will start having those talks with Priority Waste. But for right now, they're not our contractor, so until there's this approval of this agreement, then we will start talking about that as far as how we will manage that part of the contract. And some communities, I know that if they have those cans, they may put a decal over top of what's currently there, you know, with Republic's name on there. So that way the information will be out there for the residents. But I'm sure we'll get that information moving forward after the agreement is, you know, that we agreed to this. And we'll go ahead and find that information out from Priority.
Until that happens, who would residents contact to have large item pickup?
Until that happens, Republic Services is still our contractor until, unless you we sign this agreement, the service would be taken over on October 2nd. So until then, it would still be Republic Services.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
Just so I don't think I heard the date, they're gonna maintain the current contract term, which is till next year. Is that what I heard, or?
Priority Waste?
Yes.
Correct. Yes, so what they're doing.
What's the end date?
The end date is June 30th of 2024.
Okay, so we're almost immediately into finding a replacement anyways.
Correct. I was working with Republic to kind of see if they wanted to extend their contract, because that's also in our contract as well. I don't want to say too much as far as, because we don't have Priority Waste just yet, as far as what the plan will be moving forward.
In my opinion, it's a dirty business.
Thank you.
That was enlightening. Any other questions from council?
You like that one?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, thank you, Mayor, members of council.
Item 8J is approval of the ovarian cancer awareness proclamation.
Move to approve, Clearman.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 8K, approval to hire Michigan Municipal League.
Support, Quarles.
Hold on.
What?
Calm down.
Hold on. For the purpose of a city manager search at the second tier and not to exceed the specified amount of $18,500. Go.
Support, Quarles.
Move to approve, Clearman.
There's a second. Okay. Any discussion on this? Everybody agreement with this? Okay. A roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Brock,
Yes.
Councilman Dowd,
Yes.
Councilwoman Wass,
Yes.
Councilman Clearman,
Yes.
Councilman Mulholland,
Yes.
Councilman Quarles,
Yes.
Mayor Racy.
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, and item 8L, schedule a study session to continue the talks of council goals. We don't have any dates suggested, so
Just next Tuesday.
We need a motion.
Motion, Clearman.
Support Dowd. this was in relation, your recommendation was in relation to the goals?
Goals?
Okay. My only concern about immediacy, I think everybody needs to hunker down and get used to the current in process they have internally before we have to add something on immediately this month. So my only recommendation would be sometime in October, in my opinion.
I'd like to do these alternating Tuesdays between the council meetings.
We have to take into consideration that there's planning commission meetings and DDA meetings that are off
There's other meetings that you just-
weeks from council, so we wouldn't have the use of the chambers.
Would Thursday work?
And just through the chair, and there may, if there are department heads that you want present, then they should have notice so they can plan accordingly also. I don't know if I wasn't at the last goal setting session, so I don't know if there are department heads that were here or not.
And another suggestion that if I could possibly make is to maybe narrow the list and grasp certain subjects instead of throwing that whole big list at council. That was too much for the council to discuss at one study session. It went on and on and on.
Agreed.
So perhaps maybe that could be, maybe we could take a look at that list and maybe wait on scheduling, because we'd have to look at the calendar too, to maybe put out to council some suggested dates that would work with the administration as far as meetings and things that might already be scheduled.
I personally would prefer to push this off a little bit, just because we're trying to figure out what's going on and trying to figure out this. I mean, our first goal is getting a city manager. Number one goal is the next step to me. So I think our priorities are pretty self-explanatory. Now, we can talk between ourselves and in the near future here, but I think we need to just pause for a second and try to let the staff figure out things and just try to regroup to where we're at, and then move forward. One of the things that I'd like to see even with that, I felt it hard to be able to do that, the meeting, and maybe that's something that we need to talk about, is how we want to structure that meeting, and maybe we bring an outside person to facilitate that, because I don't think it was very productive, the way that we were going about it, and maybe there's a better way, and if the council has suggestions that they could bring to me, and you can email me, and then the Mayor Pro Tem and I will talk about that and how to proceed moving forward. With that, I just think we need to just give it a few weeks to just see where we're at with things, if other council agree with that. But it's been pretty overwhelming for a lot of people with everything in the last 2 weeks, and just trying to figure out, to add another, is just, we've got a lot going on. But I do want to get back to the goals. It's just unfortunately taken us so long to get to them, but I think we'll get back on them shortly.
I agree with what you're saying. It's been 10 months already.
I understand. And some of our goals are going to change because a lot of things have changed now.
Right.
With that. So that's why when we're discussing some of these goals may not be the same goals that we're talking about now, because with this new leadership, we need to look at that too.
So I'd be good with putting it off till next month, but I don't.
Yeah, well, let's talk about it. Let's give it a few, little bit, and email me suggestions on how to, I'm not sure how to make sure everybody feels like they have their voice heard in it. We had those broken out in sections, but they did take a lot longer than I expected, with how to talk about it. And how do we need to talk about how to get the results that we're wanting to do, just so we're not just talking about it, but what's the result that we want to have from that conversation, in my opinion. I just don't want to just talk to talk, so.
I'd have to say, though, the impressive thing was, in my opinion, was the amount of things that were already actively being done and actually being completed that were on the goals spreadsheet. And certainly that was something that I know that Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem Porter had taken up quite a bit of their time to meet with everybody, kind of refine them back down after we had offered our goals up. So the process has taken some time, but we've also had an evolution here at the table with new people that probably haven't even been able to offer goals. I could be wrong, but
yeah,
Mr. Quarles may not have been able to offer goals. So this probably needs to take a press of the step and pause it until we can get in front of us right now. I'm completely for it.
Yeah, I'd like to get the
I'd
MML
like to
piece in
do
place first.
quarterly informational, learning sessions, in the future. It's just a matter of getting some stability too.
Through the chair. I agree. I agree with Tina. There was just so much. I mean, I was overwhelmed. And I'm going to be honest with you. My head was swimming when we got out of that meeting. I was like, what the heck is going on here? And I think if we could take chunks of it to where, to your point, that we're more productive and we're discussing things and from somebody new like me, I'm learning. So I think that with the city manager, that should be our goal right now. I think that should take precedence over everything at this point, and that we should do them, but I think we should wait till October.
Because we're going to be having extra meetings just with that, too. So we got to take that into consideration, and we'll talk to Chief Strong about some of this, too. I'll have some conversations about how to proceed in the future, and just so that we don't lose, the momentum of trying to move this forward. So I appreciate that.
The motion maker willing to withdraw the motion?
Yes.
And agreed by the,
And I'll support
okay.
withdraw. Bring it up at a later date. Great idea.
I agree.
Okay. All right. With that, if we're ready to move the agenda, we are on to administration reports.
So just to respond to a few different questions from citizens at our last scheduled regular city council meeting, there's a question about our animal control officer's truck running throughout his shift. So we're actually getting a new animal control truck very soon, as was approved by council a few months ago. It's actually kind of a complicated question with police vehicles, but the short version is, with all of the equipment in police vehicles, including the animal control vehicle, which has computers, ticket writing machine, et cetera, they have to be left on throughout the shift or they won't start again. That's with the models we have. There is a more expensive police vehicle that's essentially a hybrid and has a battery in it that you don't have to do that, but it costs an extra $8,000. So we've been just buying the regular engine. That's something we're researching, but I feel like it's too new. So the Reader's Digest version is the vehicles are left on throughout the shift. It's just, they have to be left on. So moving on, I'd like to call up Community Development Director Goen, who is going to talk about property disposition.
Good evening again. So there were some comments made in regards to city property at the last meeting by a resident. I think I did explain the process, but I can explain it again, and I'm sure the council is aware. When we have city properties that are available, what happens is if there's interest in purchasing those properties, I bring that request before the Property Disposition Committee, which is myself, the Mayor Pro Tem, which is now Mayor Pro Tem Brock, the mayor, and the city manager, which will be Chief Strong. We sit down, we look at the properties, we look at what the individual looking to buy the land is proposing. We've sold, since I've been here, we've probably sold 20 some odd properties. We actually have a meeting this Thursday. We have 4 parcels that we'll be discussing. Based on that discussion, if we decide to move forward with bringing them to the council, that will happen after I speak with the individuals interested in buying the property. So as far as pricing goes, it truly is up to the Property Disposition Committee to make recommendation to the city council, whether it's, as the resident said, $1 or it's $50,000. A lot of it has to do with the situation at hand. Are they going to be making a multi-million-dollar investment on that property? Is it a nonprofit organization that has been maintaining the land? Is it new homes that are going to generate a ton of money for our general fund? So it truly depends on what is being proposed on the properties, but it does go before this commission, and I'm hoping to have something for you all real soon. Thank you.
I thought you had one other thing.
It's pretty bad when the new boss catches you. I'm so embarrassed. So, oh, sorry there. It's Victor. Got a phone call. Okay, excuse me, if I could, I have some exciting news. As the director or the leader of the Commission on Aging, We are excited to announce that we are going to be holding a Senior Health and Information Expo on October 26th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Hype Athletic Center. We'll be serving a light lunch, and it's free. So now I know everybody's going to be there. I'm super excited. It's really an information expo. Like I said, we've got insurance companies coming, senior living facilities, Michigan Department of Health and Human Services is going to be there, Nankin Transit, the Area Agency on Aging. So it truly is an opportunity for older adults in our community to gather information in a really wonderful setting. And I would like to thank Ali Syed and Rabi Darwish and Barbara Sanders from HYPE for partnering with us on this event. Thank you.
Thank you.
Assistant DPW Director Ed Queen is going to come up and talk about lead service lines and recycling.
Good evening again, Mayor, members of council. We had a couple questions that Mr. Amos had asked at the last council meeting. Does the recycling go to a facility or to the landfill? Our recycling goes to the GFL Huron facility in New Boston, not to a landfill. The other question he had was where are we at with the lead service lines and the...
All right.
Could we please turn that off? I turned it off. Obviously, no.
The other question Mr. Amos had, where are we at with the lead service lines and the removal of his service line? Total lead service lines to date replaced from 2021 to current is 238 lead service lines have been replaced. Mr. Amos's line was verified lead by our department, our meter technician, and an agreement was signed with Mr. Amos, which is the process that we do with these, with the lead service lines that are currently with our other projects. And he will be included in a future lead service line removal project, which is, we have those coming up in the next two construction seasons, one in '24 and then again in 2025. Thank you.
City Clerk Rowe is going to address a matter about hard copies of ordinances.
Thank you. Yes, the question was posed about a hard copy of all the city ordinances. I contacted the company that codifies our ordinances, and it was indicated that that would be $200 plus shipping and handling. So I would just need to know if someone would want to order one.
Very good, and they could just contact your office if
Yes.
they wanted one.
Yes, thank you.
And finally, our library director has been waiting patiently.
Thank you. Good evening. If you haven't already picked up a copy of our fall newsletter, it covers all of our events that we have going on at the library for September, October, November. I won't sit here and share all of them with you, but I do want to highlight a couple new programs that we have. We are continuing our Wednesday evening preschool story times and have added a baby story time once a month for children 2 and under, so the littlest ones can start getting some early literacy exposure at the library from their very own story time. We are offering one-on-one computer help by appointment to people who might want some more in-depth help, learn how to write a resume, learn how to open an email account, learn how to download books and audiobooks using your library card. You can request an appointment and a staff member will contact you to set up some one-on-one devoted time for more in-depth questions. And finally, next week, we're partnering with the Senior Alliance to host a presentation on Medicare 101, so kind of the basics of navigating the Medicare system next Tuesday, September 12th at 6 p.m. Copies of the newsletter are available here in the vestibule at the library and on the library's website. Thank you.
And then finally, just a quick word from me. I appreciate the council's confidence in me to take on this shorter, medium-term role. I look forward to continuing to serve the city. As I mentioned during the discussion about the motion, I got into public service because I wanted to help people. I've been doing this job for 24 years. I'm confident all of you got into public service because you wanted to help people. So I would just say I think this is a great opportunity for the city to kind of turn the page. No matter how anybody feels about City Manager Nasserini, she's no longer the city manager. So whether you loved her, hated her, or in the middle ground, she's no longer the city manager. So it's time to move on. I'd suggest time to move past, the arguing that I saw this on Facebook or the bickering, and just We're all here to help the citizens of Wayne, and I think now is a really great opportunity to move on and just focus on the positive. Thank you.
Okay, moving the agenda. Public comments for matters not on the agenda. Public comment is conducted in accordance with local, state, and federal laws. Each public comment is limited to 3 minutes, which will begin when the speaker approaches the podium, unless modified by a majority vote of City Council. Public comment shall not be disruptive nor contain any profanity, racial, ethnic, religious, sexual, or national origin slurs or overtones. Public comment shall not be contain defaming or slanderous personal attacks. All public comments shall be directed to City Council. The City Council will not respond during public comments. Any violation of public comment procedures shall constitute a breach of the peace. If a member of the public engages in such breach of the peace, they may be ordered to be seated immediately or removed from the meeting by the chairperson of that meeting.
Okay, any public comment this evening on items not on the agenda? Any public comment? Seeing none, please move the agenda.
Comments from members of City Council.
Councilman Clearman,
I pass.
Councilman Mulholland,
First off, I'd like to extend my most sincere condolences to the Daly family. Mr. Daly was a close family friend of mine that I've known all my life. I never worked with him here at the City of Wayne, but Mr. Daly was definitely one of a kind. I know he loved the City of Wayne. He spent quite a bit of time working here, and I know his loss will be felt very profoundly with the family, and I'd like to just extend those condolences to them. Next, I'd like to acknowledge all the good news that happened at the meeting tonight. It was great to see the PD and all of the wonderful awards that they were given for all of the hard work that they do every day. And not everything they do gets accommodation. There's lots of things they do every day that they don't get accommodations for that they probably should. Also, all the businesses and the awards that they got, and that goes as well for those guys. They did a great job. There's lots of other businesses in town that could probably get the same kind of awards too if there was more awards to be given, but kudos to them. And Chief, thank you so much for your comments about moving forward. We are going to get through this. In every municipality in the state of Michigan has gone through a change in leadership. I know it can be anxiety provoking. I know it can be difficult for different folks. There's uncertainty, but we're going to get through this together as a team. We're going to find a new city manager. We're going to keep moving the ball forward, and I'm very confident in that. And with that, I'll pass.
okay, Councilman Ross.
I did want to say congratulations to all the officers who got commendations tonight. It was nice to see so many of them, and at the same time, just a little disappointing that there had to be so many of them. But I appreciate all their hard work, and I also would like to say thank you to our department heads who are, you know, sticking together and getting through this and doing their job. And, you know, I know this can be stressful for you all, and I appreciate you. To the chief, thank you for stepping up. This is a lot, and we really appreciate your dedication to the city. And with that, I will pass.
Councilman Quarles.
Just reiterating what everybody said, Chief Strong, you are exemplary in stepping up and taking on this role. It's a big role, not only being the police chief, but also city manager. So again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Our department heads, I say this at every meeting, you are above board. You're one of the best, and we are fortunate. If you watch any YouTube, I've said that 100 times, and I'm proud to call you all my friends because you guys are just exemplary. And to the police, they getting the awards, it was nice to see. And it's just nice to see that we are moving forward. And as Matt said, we are going to get through this. We're all going to get through this. And we just got to respect each other. We got to love each other. And we will get through this. And with that, I'll pass.
Councilman Dowd.
Thank you, Mayor. First off, I want to congratulate Helium Studios, Flowers in the Mitten, which reminds me I gotta go pick up some flowers tomorrow from them, and Moonlight Mystic to get those, honors within the newspaper, within the website, a name that's dropped in a retail environment where you have brick and mortar business. That is a challenging time right now to operate that and get that kind of recognition in a regional level is fantastic. Hopefully they can capitalize on that. All three are great business owners, stay very involved in the city and coordinate things and collaborate with other parties too, which I think is a key to their mixture of success. Chief, reading through the awards, the job's not for everybody. And my goodness, we are blessed with some people that have come back and keep coming back to work and to celebrate their achievements and successes, especially in things where potential suicide is involved. That is on a whole different level of emotional impact, which supports what you got going on in the police department with the alternate things you're trying to satisfy them with, both with counseling, having an animal in the building, and also coming up with other programs that is a diversion from what can be the hard parts of the job, the difficult parts. Sometimes it's hard to put it away. And I applaud every officer that keeps coming back. I appreciate everybody that's on the force, that being in all the three key departments being DPW, the hard jobs, the labor-intensive jobs, to get into a hole, to confront somebody, or to run into a building, or to save somebody. It's fantastic. That doesn't leave anything short of our heroes that we have in the offices that deal with human beings on a daily basis in a different way, and with still putting a smile on their face. Last thing I want to say is I was pleasantly surprised. I was met by a scarecrow a scary scarecrow out in the park, which is fantastic. I remember when I first moved in the city and Helen Tomlinson sold me my house over 20 plus years ago. There were Christmas trees out there, and everybody had decorated their own Christmas tree, and it was part of the walk around, and they were all lit up, which is fantastic. This is really a nod to what I remember when I first came in the city as a young adult. And with that, I'll pass.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you. Just want to start off by saying that Rachel from Flowers in the Mitten will be hosting the Scarecrow Fest on September 16th at Gowdy Park, Saturday, September 16th. So the Scarecrow Fest is going to be happening. I also noticed in today's Telegram newspaper that the Wayne Police Department is asking folks to donate their own cell phones, and you can drop them off at any City of Wayne government office for use by veterans.
You can certainly drop them off at the police department.
At the police department, okay. I want to address something that I saw that was brought to my attention. I do a lot of work with newspapers, social media, and other outlets. And it turns out that I saw what I can describe as a pretty crazy news item. There were wild responses from some citizens about it, but most of them were made by folks that were not in the city. And those statements were written as if they knew what had actually happened, and they thought they knew because they were reading a newspaper article which was actually stating that they knew what I was thinking when I did not do something. As if they knew. So first of all, I did not withhold anything from my fellow council persons. But it was made to seem that I had done that non-thing. This is a little confusing. Bear with me just for a moment. They also quoted me as saying something at a city council meeting that I did not say. Now, I also need to make it clear to everyone that the folks that did this never spoke to me. I have never spoken to them. I haven't heard from them. I'll also add that I never see them at any of the volunteer opportunities. I never see them. They do not offer any assistance with what we're doing. And sometimes it seems to me that what they're seeking is nothing less than a new flag. And I take great acceptance to that. Now, what I want to do as a council person is to represent my constituents. I work on that very hard. I want to, among other things, see that we secure a safe community for our families and businesses, healthful activities, and many other positive items. And having said that, this coming Saturday between 8:30 a.m. and 12 p.m., we'll begin doing a cleanup on Washington Trail, and I'd like you all to stop by and say hi. Thank you.
Thank you. A few things. I got 3 minutes. Just want to just thank everybody for coming out to the concerts. I think that they came off very successful. Despite all the challenges that we had, I think that that's something that I need to talk with the chief about and Mike Byton as we're looking at what to do next. I think we need to have some conversations after the experience over the summer, and I think we need to have a totally new look at Gowdy Park and how we can redevelop that. I have some ideas. I believe you guys probably have some ideas, and looking at what the engineers are doing. But I think that there's definitely some things that we can make better out of that, and out of the challenges. I think we might wind up with a better park out of it if we all work together. And then I want to congratulate the chief and thank you for stepping up. It doesn't go unnoticed, and very appreciative of everything you do for us in this community. Also, on October the 13th, Brett the Hitman Hart is coming to Wayne, and they're going to have a wrestling event. There's going to be an autograph opportunity. But Brett the Hitman Hart and a wrestling event will be happening at Hype Athletics on October 13th. So tickets are on sale now. You can find that online or call Hype and they can direct you to how to get tickets. And then also on Saturday, we have a 9/11 event at the Knights of Columbus. I believe it's at 11 or 12 o'clock. I can't remember. Chief, do you remember?
I think there's some sort of pre-activities at 11, the actual ceremony.
Ceremony starts at 12, okay. So we have that, and I know council also got an invitation. There's a event in Inkster at 10 o'clock, a breakfast that we've all been invited to, if you're able to make that. And then lots of things going on with things. And then I didn't plan on going there, but I might as well throw my hat into the ring. I agree with the Mayor Pro Tem that I saw that article that was fiction. That was something that they just made things up. They didn't have a clue what they were talking about. Unfortunately, that seems to be a common pattern in this community, that we have people that put out fiction and people believe it as fact. Very disappointing. Saw some of the comments that were made on Facebook. Again, 90% fiction, people just putting things out. I also asked people to start looking at who's putting this stuff out and what's the motivation behind it, because their motivations are not in the best interest of this community. People are doing this to hurt our community, and I would encourage residents to do your homework and figure out what's really going on, because there's people that are just miserable and have nothing better to do than try to hurt people. And that is just shameful. It's just so disappointing, even seeing some of these comments that are just a bunch of crap that were put in front of us tonight, that they were put in front of us without the people's names and redact the names. That's garbage. You need to, if you put it out, tell us who said that. I also want to say that it's very disappointing that people put things out in social media and don't talk to the people that they need to talk to. I had one resident talk to me about the situation on Facebook, and this person is in this audience tonight. Not one resident, other than one person, took the time to talk to me. Now, if you want to work and try to do something positive in the community, talk to your city council, talk to me, and let us have the opportunity to do it. Don't post this crap on Facebook and put this community down. I'm just so sick of that type of attitude. If we're gonna sit there and continue that, we're not gonna go anywhere. If we want to do, we need to be positive and working to make this community better. It is just sickening what has happened in the past, and this has to stop. And I would encourage other residents to call other residents out and say, that is not appropriate, and you should stop acting like this. We care about our community, and if you can't talk positive about our community, don't say anything at all. I was always told that by my parents. If you have nothing positive to say, don't say anything at all. People need to just shut their mouths and start talking the truth. With that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion, Clerman.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.